Hello everyone. Welcome to another video, guided meditation video. My name is Sage and I work for the Oregon City Public Library. This is Bella today. Again, baby noises in the background. I apologize. I wanted today to talk about emotional regulation in our daily lives. So I was gonna say what's cooler than being cool, and instead of saying ice cold, I was gonna say emotional regulation. Anyway, I should have just said it, but instead I explained it. Okay, so for emotional regulation is something that we are doing constantly, right? Especially if we're in an environment that we don't have control over and we have to just respond to it. And often it can be hard to respond in maybe a way that control wants us to respond. So this might happen in like a work environment where maybe there are policies that you don't agree with, and so you have to respond like a number of ways, but also feeling really valid emotions through that. This could happen in relationships, this could happen in family dynamics, this could even happen like when you're making breakfast and you burn your finger or something. So we're constantly practicing emotional regulation, and based on a lot of things, sometimes your upbringing, sometimes your brain chemistry, this might be more challenging for you than it is for others. And given the last 2 years of this world, it is likely that your ability to emotionally regulate has gotten a lot harder because we're still very much in this fight, flight, freeze defense from constantly scary and traumatic things happening in our world. So this is hard. And it's okay. I want to first and foremost say this. It's okay to have moments in your life where emotional regulation just is not happening. But we can also learn what we need to do in those moments to create less harm for ourselves and others. So, that was a lot. Go ahead and get in a comfortable position. Lie down, sit up, stand, walk around if that helps you. Relax. And just bring your shoulders up, back, and down. Bring your chin to your chest. And roll your head side to side. And just kind of shake out your arms, maybe your whole body. Good. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. And consider the last moment that you felt frustration. For me, I can share that it was definitely trying to put the baby down for a nap. And just notice what comes up when you put yourself back in that moment of frustration. Think about how you processed those emotions right away and how you processed them over time. So now I can consider that my baby is just being a baby, growing teeth. Things are painful and uncomfortable, and it is very much not their fault for screaming. That's my after 3 hours process. Versus my in the moment process, which was not processing at all, which was getting very frustrated and wanting to just set them down and walk away. So just consider the last time you had that moment of frustration where you almost couldn't handle it, or maybe you even had to step away. So consider what you could have done in that moment. And sometimes this is a tactic that feels very like you're in trouble and your teacher or your parent is like asking you to say what you could have done better in that moment, and it's hard to reflect on that, and it's hard to maintain the validity of your emotions in that moment while also thinking of what went wrong or what you could have done instead. So instead of doing that, maybe take for a moment to create an intention for the next time that happens to you. So how would you like to respond? Would you like to stay cool and collected? Would you like to be able to communicate through it, or maybe even stick up for yourself in maybe relationships or workplace policy? And then consider what kept you from responding in that way in that moment. And there are so many outside factors when it comes to emotional regulation. The big two that I highly encourage you to become aware of in yourself, if you're not already, is hunger and tiredness. When we are tired and hungry, we do not regulate well, and that comes from, or that's where the term hanger comes from. That's where things can get a lot more heated and a lot more like built up and, I don't know, chaotic and flammable when we're in those states. So one step for this is to make sure that we are meeting our basic survival needs. And again, this is hard because this isn't a necessarily equitable conversation in our country. Not a lot of people have access to food, housing, healthcare. So this is one where that frustration and that emotional regulation might be even harder. So here, sit with that feeling of frustration, and honor it for its purpose. In that moment that you got frustrated recently, what was your frustration telling you? And how can you respond to that frustration? By considering an alternative response. These are big, hard feelings, and it's a lifelong journey, and we are so fluid with emotion all the time that it's not always going to be one thing that's going to change how we're feeling in a moment or how we're responding to a situation, because emotions and our lives are so complex and dynamic. So give yourself grace. Allow yourself to hold on to this frustration as a tool, as a guide. And really the first step in all of this is just being mindful of how you're feeling in each moment, especially when the moments are hard. Take a breath in, let it go. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you in the next one.